welcoming all of you to the mid-morning japa session. I thank you all for attending this class and this session. Please forgive me for interrupting your ecstatic chanting. Let us move to our next part of the session, which is Sri Caitanya Bhagavata class. May I know who all have joined the call this morning?
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. It's so wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for such a sweet service. This is Preethi, Vilasini, Devi, Dasi from California. Extremely happy to have you on the call, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Preethi, Vilasini, Mataji. This is Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining the class, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranams. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharajas, and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Kirtida Sundari Devi Dasi, and thank you so much, Mataji, for taking up this service, and so happy to see you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Kirti. Hare Krishna, Kirtida Sundari Mataji. This is thank you for joining this call. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, this is Acharya Devi Dasi calling from Dallas. I'm so happy to see all of you and chant japa with you. It's so wonderful. Thank you. I have a little bit of a cough, so I sound funny. Megha, that's a nice name, Megha. What does it mean?
It means cloud, dark cloud, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Oh, a cloud, like Krishna's color, right?
Yes, yes.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Sacharya Mataji. This is Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining this call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. This is Paneshwari Lakshmi Devi Dasi from San Diego.
Hare Krishna, Paneshwari Lakshmi Devi Dasi. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas. And nice to see you, Mataji. Very happy. Please come once in a while like this. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for calling, joining the session, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. Go ahead.
It's okay, Mataji. Please go ahead, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Nanda Priya Narmada Devi Dasi from Charlotte. Nice to see you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Nandapriya Narmada Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Yashamati from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Yashamati Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Preethi Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preethi Dasi Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining this call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas and all the assembled devotees. This is Anuradha Devi Dasi from Dallas, Texas.
Hare Krishna, Anuradha Devi Dasi Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining this call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada Salguru.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. This is Kamudeki Dasi from Baltimore. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Gopika Mataji and Komodaki Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. This is Shivani from West Virginia. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Devani Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining this call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev, everybody. Hare Krishna, the class. This is Hari Radha from Fairfax, Virginia. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shri Hari Radha Dasi, Mataji, Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining this call, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Okay, is there anyone else in the call who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to devotees. This is Chaya from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Chaya Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining this call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I will be starting the recording. Mataji, it's 10:03.
Sure. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa Group. Today we're fortunate to have Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Devi Dasi Mataji on the topic of Shri Caitanya Bhagavata Adi Khanda 2.211 and onwards. Hare Krishna Mataji, are you present on the call?
Yes, Mataji, I'm here.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for giving your very valuable time and association to us this morning and enlightening us on this topic. I now hand over the call to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Megha Mataji, for your sweet introduction. And thank you for being on the call. Thank you, Kirtida Sundari Mataji, and everyone else for this opportunity, and all the organizers of the call for helping me be present today on this call. So thank you all so much. So we'll get started with the prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkrpatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschayati Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so so do you see Chaitanya Bhagavata on your screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavata, right? Okay, wonderful. Maybe we'll get started. But before we get started with today's verse, which is 211 onwards, till the end of chapter 2, we'll have a quick look at what has happened so far. Okay, so for that, we'll sing some prayers from Chaitanya Bhagavata. Ajanulambita bhujao kanakavadato sankirtanaikapitarau kamalayatakshav vishwambharau dvijavarau yugadharmapalau vande jagatpriyakarau karunavatarau jayati jayati deva krishna chaitanya chandro jayati jayati kirti tasya nitya pravitra jayati jayati bhritya tasya vishveshvamurter jayati jayati nritya tasya sarva priyanam. Okay. So thank you all so much. We are reading verse 211. Dundubhi bhaje sata shanka gaje bhaje venu vishana Shri Chaitanya Thakur Nityananda Prabhu Vrindavan Dasagana. Kettle drums were sounded, hundreds of conch shells were blown, and flutes and horns were played. In this way, Vrindavan Das Thakur sings the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. So we have seen in our previous session about how Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his divine appearance on the full moon night in the month of Falgun. So as requested earlier, we'll have it interactive. We'll have the session interactive. So can someone tell me which month is Falgun Mas in the English calendar?
February?
Yeah,
March.
February, March. Right, that's correct. Both are correct. February, March. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on a full moon night in the month of February, March, okay, in the month of Falgun. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he stayed in his mother's womb for 13 months. So that's a long pregnancy, very, very long pregnancy. And in spite of it being 13 months, he did not come out. Okay, he was still in the womb. And at that time, Jagannath Mishra, who's the father of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became very apprehensive. He was very worried, what is this? This child is not coming out. So at that time, Nilambara Chakravarti, he came to the house and he told Jagannath Mishra not to worry. And he said that this child has decided to appear on a very, very auspicious moment. So that's the reason this child is waiting for so long in the womb. Now, who's Nilambar Chakravarti?
Mother Shachi's father.
Mother.
Correct. Shachi's father. So the grandfather, right? The grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was a great astrologer and he was very well read in many shastras. So he came and he said, there is something special about her pregnancy. And definitely this child has decided to make his appearance at a very auspicious moment during an eclipse. Now, this was kind of bewildering. Why? Because generally eclipses are not considered very auspicious, right? What do we do on an eclipse? Everyone goes inside their house, they shut the doors down, they don't want these inauspicious rays falling on them, and everyone is chanting the holy names. Otherwise, they are all standing in the river of Ganges and they are continuously chanting the holy names. So that is what happens, because during an eclipse, the general idea is that right after an eclipse, there are, if you see even, events in today's world, okay, after an eclipse, after the next few months, you'll have a lot of natural disasters. So generally, an eclipse is a time of inauspiciousness, general understanding. But then Nilambar Chakravarti comes here and he tells that this child will make his appearance during the auspicious moment of an eclipse. Now, why did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decide to come during this so-called auspicious moment of an eclipse? The answer is, as you all already know, and we have been discussing in the previous class too, is that everyone chants the holy name. It's not that just the devotees are chanting the holy names, but also everyone else, they could be practicing devotee, non-practicing devotee, karmis, whoever they may be. All the people, men, women, everybody in this world, they all chant. It is a tradition to chant the holy names during the time of an eclipse. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to appear right at that time because he wanted the holy names to be chanted even before he appeared. What was the external purpose of his appearance? Anyone wants to take an answer for this? External
spread the Sankirtan
movement, yes, and he is the Yuga avatar, right? So he is the Yuga avatar. So he comes down to spread the Sankirtan movement, spread the Yuga Dharma for this age of Kali. The Yuga Dharma for this age of Kali is chanting the holy names. So he decided when he appears, let the chanting begin. So that is the reason he chose specifically this auspicious moment of the eclipse. Okay, so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose the auspicious moment of the eclipse. Now, one may ask, why did the eclipse have to occur when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came? The eclipse the so-called inauspiciousness, right? The so-called external inauspiciousness of the eclipse. Why did it have to appear when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared? So there is an answer for that also. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami very poetically in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, he explains this fact too. So he explains that when Sri Chaitanya Chandra, Gaura Chandra, whose face is very, very beautiful like the moon, when he appears, Rahu thought that why is there a need for this moon full of spots? So the moon we see in the sky during the night has a lot of spots. When you look at it from here, if you look at it, they say it looks like the spots of a rabbit. Okay, that's one kind of imagination that poets have. So when they see the moon up, there are some dark spots, gray spots on the moon, right? So Rahu was thinking, where is the need for this spotted moon when this beautiful moon is going to appear? So Rahu thought, my job is to create eclipses. So Rahu is the dark planet, right? Or, like how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati wrote in his commentary in a few verses before, which you heard yesterday, basically a shadow planet. So Rahu went and covered the moon, the spotted moon, so that this golden moon without any spots could appear. Okay, so like that, we saw in the previous verses that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared during the time of the eclipse in 1486 AD. So which we say is about 500 years before. Okay. Now, at this time, not only do people chant the holy names, it is also customary to give charity. To give charity to the brahmanas or to the poor. So such sort of charitable business also happens at the time of eclipse. So not only do devotees do this, even others, even karmis, so many people, it is a custom that they all go to the river, they chant the holy names and they give away charity. Now, Sri Advaita Acharya, who was already present there during this time, he was the one who prayed for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, right? So he worshipped as Shalagram Shila, he offered Ganges water, Tulasi, Chandan, and he cried out for the Lord to appear. So during this time of eclipse, taking advantage of this eclipse, so many people were distributing many varieties of charity to the brahmanas. So at that time, immediately Advaita Acharya, he got a feeling that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had actually appeared. So he could sense that in his heart when he was in the Ganges during the time of the eclipse. So he decided to give a lot of charity of 10,000 cows to the brahmanas, just like how Nanda Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam gave away charity to all the brahmanas. Now Vasudeva, who was in the jail, he could not do it. So he did it mentally. Okay, he mentally gave away charity. But Nanda Maharaj, who was there in Nandagram, he was the possessor of so many cows. So he could give many, many cows in charity. So like that, our Advaita Acharya, he was very, very interested in giving charity on that particular eclipse, because he knew that actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is non-different from Krishna, had appeared. And so he began giving charity of several cows. So he did this charity exactly like how Vasudeva did mentally in the presence of Krishna. That is when Krishna appeared. So it was a very, very beautiful moment. Though it was seemingly inauspicious, it was the most auspicious moment. Okay, so we'll continue to read the further verses. So at that time, what happened? Everyone, right at that moment, there were kettle drums that were sounded, conch shells that were blown, and flutes and horns that were played. So Dundubi means kettle drum. Does anyone know a name of Vasudeva that is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam? How is Vasudeva first referred to in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Anyone knows?
Anakadundabi.
Anakadundabi. Yes, his name is Anakadundabi. Because when Vasudeva was born, the demigods, they sounded kettle drums. They sounded dundubis, Anakadundabi. Why were they sounding kettle drums? Because they knew that this person is going to be the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they were sounding kettle drums. So we see here again, when the Lord appears, kettle drums were sounded. Dundubi bhaje, shata shanka bhaje. Shanka is conch shell. And Bhaja Veno Vishana. Veno, you all know, is the flute. And Vishana is the buffalo horn or the cow horn. You know, it's used even in Krishna and Balram, like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Balram always carries a buffalo horn. There is a very famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that describes how Krishna takes lunch with his friends. Bibrat Venur Jatarapatayo Shringavetreche Kakshe. In that, he says Shringa Vetrecha Kakshe. Shringa is also a horn. So you must have heard of this. Shringa. Shringa is like, there was a sage called Rishya Shringa. who did the Putrakameshti Yajna for the appearance of Lord Ramachandra. So his name is Shringa, meaning one who has a horn. So he had some sort of a protrusion, so he was called as Rishya Shringa. So Shringa means horn. So this buffalo horn is also a musical instrument, traditional musical instrument, with which they make beautiful sounds. So like this, all the demigods, they were sounding these various instruments. There were roars, gaje means roars, garjana. So there were roars and sounds of different kinds of musical instruments. So text 212. Jini naravikara Shri Anga Sundara Nayane Heraina Pariyaita Lochana Ishat Pankima Upama Nahika Vichari. The Lord's beautiful features cannot be perceived, for they outshine the rays of the sun. His broad eyes, which are upturned at ends, have no comparison. So now the Lord's lotus feet is the Lord's eyes is compared to lotuses. So you all know that. How does a lotus petal look like? So it has a beautiful curved feature, and there are two kinds of eyes. Okay, some of the lotus-like eyes are upturned. That is considered as beautiful, like that towards the end. Like for example, in Ramayana, Sita's name is Visalakshi. Visalakshi means one who has very, very broad eyes. How broad? It is explained that the ends of her eyes meet her ears, so that broad, and it should look like a lotus petal. What sort of lotus petal should it look like? It should look like an upturned lotus petal, not downturned. In some people, they have downturned eyes. That is also beautiful. That is also like a lotus. But here, which is more beautiful? The one that has upturned ends. So the Lord's beautiful features cannot be perceived because they outshine the rays of the sun. So when you look up at the sun is very, very bright. So it is so bright that you cannot continuously look at the sun. It is actually hurting to the eye, right? The sun's rays hurts the eye. But then Lord Gaurasundar's radiance was so nice. It was outshining that of the sun, and it was not hurting to the eye. It was very pleasant to the eye. So much so that once you see, you cannot just see once, you will keep seeing. So if you see the sun, you will stop with once. You cannot see for more than a few seconds. If you see more than a few seconds directly at the sun, your eyes will go blind, right? But Lord Gaurasundar's beauty was even more radiant than the sunshine. So much so radiant that you just cannot see it. Meaning, you will just not stop seeing it once. You will keep seeing it again and again. He was so radiant, and it was so pleasant to the eye, not like the sun's rays. And he had these beautiful broad eyes that were upturned, and it had no comparison. Even a lotus petal cannot really compare to the beauty of the eyes of the Lord. So what can we do? We can just choose something that is very material in this world and then say, oh, this is our comparison. This is our yardstick. So the Lord's eyes looks like a lotus petal, but actually the Lord's eyes is even more beautiful than a lotus petal. The lotus petal has to draw some beauty from the Lord's eyes. So that's how beautiful the Lord's eyes were. Aju Vijaye Gauranga Avani Mandale Chaudi Keshuniya Ullas Ekahari Dhwani Abrahma Dhari Shuni Gauranga Chandira Prakash. Due to the appearance of Sri Gauranga in this world, the sound vibration of Hari's name spread throughout the universe up to Brahmaloka. Okay, so Vijaya means to make an advent. Okay, that is called as Vijaya. Vijaya means victory, right? But when the Lord's victorious appearance appears, that is when he appears, that is called as Vijaya. So the Lord, whenever we talk about the incarnation of the Lord, we say that he did a Vijaya. He came, he appeared for a victory. So like that, the Lord appeared, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu made his Vijaya in this world. Avani means earth, okay? So Avani Mandale. So he made his appearance in this earth, not just for the earth, but for the benefit of the entire universe. And the entire universe was celebrating this because not only were people chanting the holy names on earth because of the external pretext of an of an eclipse, but the entire universe, all the three worlds were chanting the holy names, and they were beating drums, and they were celebrating this appearance of the Supreme Lord. Now we'll get into some very interesting details about the beauty of the Lord. Okay, we'll also see some descriptions from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita after this. Chandani ujjvala vaksha parisara dolayate tati vanamala Chandasu Shistala Shrimukha Mandala Ajanu Bahu Vishala. The Lord's broad chest is smeared with bright sandalwood pulp and decorated with flower garland. The Lord's sweet face is as soothing as the full moon, and his long arms stretch to his knees. So now what have we seen so far? We have seen the beauty of his eyes. Okay, he's got upturned eyes. We saw the beauty of his limbs. His limbs are very, very effulgent and shining. More shining than that of the sun, but not as hurting as the sun's rays. Not only that, he had a very broad chest. Okay, and the chest was smeared with sandalwood pulp, decorated with a garland, and his face looked like a moon that actually defeated that moon with spots. And his arms, his limbs were very, very long, so much so that they stretched up to his knees. Okay, so these are some interesting facts that describe the beauty of the Lord. When Neelambar Chakravarti, he came and he saw that the child had appeared according to his prediction. He made a prediction that the child would appear exactly during the eclipse, right? So when he came and he saw the beauty of the child, immediately he exclaimed and he said a few statements. So let's see what Neelambar Chakravarti said. He said, there are 32 bodily marks that symptomize a great personality, and I see all these marks on the body of this child. There are 32 bodily symptoms in a great personality. What are they? 5 of his bodily parts are large, 5 are fine, 7 are reddish, 6 are raised, 3 small, 3 broad, and 3 grave. Okay. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes what these are. The 5 large parts are the nose, arms, chin, eyes, and knees. So what are they? The nose. Generally, a person, a great personality, will have a nice long nose. Okay, a long nose is considered beautiful. Now, long and sharp. It should not be blunt, it should be sharp. He had long arms. That is also described in this verse in Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, so long that it would reach his knees. So you see the description of even the Goswamis. They talk about how these Goswamis, like Jiva Goswami's appearance, you see description that he had very long arms that would touch the knee. So generally, if a person has long arms that almost reaches the knee, such a person is considered very spiritual and very a very special personality. Now here we are seeing about the Supreme Lord. So all these were present in the Supreme Lord. All the 32 marks were present. Okay, so he had 5 large parts: the nose, the arms, the chin, eyes. Obviously his eyes was very, very big and long, and knees. Okay, the 5 fine parts are the skin, fingertips, teeth, hair on the body, and hair on the head. So this is also something we can relate to. A person who has very fine hair or less hair on the body and who has fine silky hair is considered very beautiful, right? So like that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 5 fine parts: skin, fine fingertips, teeth were fine, hair, body, both bodily hair as well as the hair on the head, and these are the different 5 parts that were fine. Now the 7 reddish parts are the skin, are the eyes, the ends of the eyes. Even Krishna's beauty, when you read Kapila, he talks about meditating on Krishna's beauty in the 3rd canto, and he says that the eyes of the Lord are reddish, right? So that's considered very beautiful if you have reddish eyes. The soles, the palms, the palate, nails, and upper and lower lips. So reddish lips, naturally reddish without lipstick, naturally reddish lips, the palate, the palms, the soles. So all the deities that you worship, They all have reddish souls. So have you ever wondered why they have reddish souls? That is because that is how Krishna is. The inside, the soles of his hand and his feet are very, very reddish. So it's a beautiful contrast. I mean, thinking about Krishna, the deity of Krishna, Krishna's deity is blackish. Krishna is generally blackish, and he's got this contrasting reddish in soles. So it looks very beautiful. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, though he was Krishna himself, he had a golden complexion. And in that golden complexion, there was this reddish hue. It's extremely beautiful, even in a golden complexion. So this is how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. Then the 6 raised parts are the chest. The chest should be raised and very, very broad. So 2 days back, you heard about the comparison between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the lion. Kirtida Sundari Mataji was explaining. She was telling that the lion has a broad chest and a thin waist, right? So like that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had a very broad chest. We are going to see more about the broad chest part of it, but now we'll just look at the broad features. He has broad chest, broad shoulders, upraised and broad shoulders, nails, nose, waist, and mouth. Okay, so these 6 are raised parts. So the nails should not be dented inside. It should be upraised, upraised nails, upraised nose, waist and mouth. All of this should be raised. Then there are 3 small parts, which are the neck, the thighs, and the male organ. These should be very, very small. Then the 3 broad parts are the waist, forehead, and chest. The 3 grave parts are the navel, voice, and existence. Grave voice, grave navel, meaning it should be very deep. A navel should be very, very deep. So altogether, 32 symptoms actually were exhibited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his bodily parts, and these are symptoms of a great personality. So Neelambar Chakravarti, he could immediately identify, examining the beauty of the Lord when he was born, that this is a great personality. So where did Neelambar Chakravarti get this idea that this is beautiful? It is described in the Samudrika Lakshana. So Samudrika Lakshana is a text that describes what is beautiful and what is not beautiful. Okay, so different aspects of physical existence is described in Samudrika Lakshana. And from that book, Shri Neelambar Chakravarti, he could immediately tell that this is actually a great personality. And after examining the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said that this baby has all the symptoms of Lord Narayana on his palms and soles. So not only did he have these 32 beautiful bodily features, he also has the marks of Narayana, which only Lord Narayana carries in his palms and soles, and he will be able to deliver all the 3 worlds. And he says that this child is especially born to preach the Vaishnava cult. Okay, and Prabhupada in the purport, he explains to us that only a Vaishnava child can actually preach Krishna consciousness and deliver both his father's and mother's side. So anyone who has taken up this process of Krishna consciousness, he is not only capable of delivering himself through the process of Krishna consciousness, but he also is capable of delivering both his father's side and mother's side. So we see in the story of Prahlad Maharaj, right? What did Narsinghadev promise him? Anyone wants to take an answer for that? What did Narsinghadev tell Prahlad about the deliverance of his ancestors?
21 generations.
Yes, 21 generations. 21 generations will be liberated.
Maternal and paternal side.
Yes, maternal and paternal side. Yes, 21 generations. And in fact, he goes ahead in the purport, if you see, even the previous birth also, whoever your parents, even they also get liberated. So like that, that is the power of taking up to the process of Krishna consciousness. Not only are you liberating yourself, you are liberating even your own ancestors. Okay, and there is further description about the beauty of the Lord. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, just like how Caitanya Bhagavata is described, even Charitamrita describes, says that the luster of his expansive body resembles molten gold. Obviously, he's Gaura Hari, right? So it resembles molten gold, and the deep sound of his voice conquers the thundering of newly assembled clouds. So the thundering of clouds is very, very deep and resounding. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Garjana, his roaring like a lion, right? Again, we saw in the previous class how he roars like a lion. So that was very, very deep. How deep? Just like the thundering of newly assembled clouds. Then he goes to explain, we saw about his broad chest, right? So what is this broad chest about? What does it indicate? So now comes the explanation. One who measures 4 cubits in height and in breadth by his own hand is celebrated as a great personality. Such a person is called Nyagrodha Parimandala. So this is a term used to indicate the bodily features of a great personality. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he personifies all good qualities, and he had the body of Nyagrodha Parimandala. So only the Supreme Lord who has engaged the conditioned souls by his own illusory energy can actually possess these bodily features, the bodily features of Nyagrodha Parimandala. Okay, so only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can actually possess all these features in full. These features directly indicate Sri Vishnu and no one else, Prabhupada writes in the purport. So he says, if a person has these exact measures, okay, then he is the Supreme Lord. Nyagrodha Parimandala, there is further description about how this Nyagrodha Parimandala works. So his arms, we already discussed, should reach up to his knees. His eyes should be like lotus flowers. His nose should be like a sesame flower. Has anyone seen a sesame flower, how it looks? It actually looks like a nose. It is like this. It looks like a nose. You can Google it up. It's very, very beautiful. It looks exactly like a nose, and it's very sharp and thin and raised. Okay, that's how a sesame flower looks. And his face is as beautiful as the moon. Now, the measurement of Nyagrodha Parimandala should be such that in another purport, Prabhupada writes that his forearm should measure his entire chest. Okay, his entire forearm should be the width of his chest. So that should equal and come, this entire arm should reach up to the end of his knees. Till his knees. So like that, there are specific measures, ratios of the face, of the hands, and all of that. So Prabhupada explains that in great detail. So if all this is there, then that person is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And not only that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Nilambar Chakravarti looked at the baby, he said he's very, very peaceful. He appears peaceful. So even a newborn baby, you can actually make out, the mood of the newborn baby. So Nilambar Chakravarti said, this baby looks very peaceful. He's very self-controlled, and he's a beautiful devotee of the Supreme Lord. And further predictions were made, and this is recorded by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He says, this child will be affectionate towards his devotees, he'll be gentle, and he'll be equally disposed towards all living beings. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had all these beautiful qualities. He had not only the external qualities, he had internal behavior as well. So he had all these qualities in full, and his horoscope was actually revealing everything. So the next chapter, chapter 2, is all about the horoscope of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is also very interesting. So by seeing the horoscope, one can actually reveal more details, and that we will see in Monday, Tuesday class. Okay, that will come later after this. In the Vishnu Sahasranam, okay, looking at these features, the Vishnu Sahasranam has also recorded the appearance of the Lord. So this is very interesting. Again, this is directly from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Actually, the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in general are divided into 2 divisions. One is, of course, we say 3 divisions, Adi, Madhya, and Antya, or we say Adi, Madhya, and Sesha. But broadly, if you see, it is classified into 2 divisions, the early pastimes and the later pastimes. Adi Leela, Sesha Leela. Okay, after sannyas. We say pre-sannyas, post-sannyas, right? Like that. So broadly, they are classified into 2. And for the Adi pastimes, there are 2 lines in Vishnu Sahasranam. And for the Sesha pastimes, there are 2 lines in the Vishnu Sahasranam that describe the beauty of the Lord, how he's dressed, how he conducts himself. So that is what we are seeing here. That is the topic for today, right? So what are those 2 verses? Suvarna Varna Hemango Varangas Chandanangadi Sanyasakrit Chamaha Shanto Nishta Shanti Parayana. So these two lines, that is Suvarna Varna Hemango Varangas Chandanangadi, this is one section of his early pastimes. The second part is Sanyasakrit Chamaha Shanto Nishta Shanti Parayana. So this is the second portion. The first portion indicates Adi Leela, second portion indicates Sesha Leela. What is the translation? In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with Hemanga, golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful. His body is smeared with sandalwood pulp. That is what we saw in Caitanya Bhagavata, right? His chest is broad. It is smeared with sandalwood pulp. So that is directly there in the Vishnu Sahasranam. His body seems like molten gold. This is Adi Leela pastime. So he appears as a household with golden complexion, with his chest smeared with sandalwood pulp. In his later pastimes, what happens? He accepts sannyas order. Sanyasakrit Shamaha Shanto. So what did Nilambar Chakravarti see? He saw that the child was very Shanta, Shanta Dama, very, very nice, very, very good demeanor he had. So he takes up sannyas, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a Sesha Leela. He takes up sannyas, he's equipoised and he's very, very peaceful. Nishta Shanti Parayana. He's the highest abode of peace and devotion because he silences the impersonalist non-devotees. So by silencing them, he's able to actually exhibit and also establish devotion. So that's how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described in the Vishnu Sahasranam. And Baladev Vidyabhushan, he writes a commentary to the Vishnu Sahasranam. Actually, I should have asked that as a question, but anyway. Yeah, so Baladev Vidyabhushan has actually written a commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranam for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And there he describes what each name of Vishnu actually means. And there he has picked these two verses and dedicated it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he says that, Prabhupada in the purport, he says that in the Mundaka Upanishad, it is also mentioned that the Supreme Lord is Rukma-Varnam. Now he explains that this Rukma-Varnam means molten gold, complexion of molten gold. Okay, so he says that directly indicates Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he quotes 3:1-3 of Mundaka Upanishad, Yada Pashya Pashyati Rukma Varnam Kartaram Isham Purusham Brahma Yonim. So he quotes this verse and he says, Rukma Varnam Kartaram Isham means it refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as having a complexion of the color of molten gold. Purusham means the Supreme Lord, and Brahma Yonim means that he is the Supreme Brahman. This evidence too proves that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Another meaning of the description of the Lord as having as a golden hue is that Lord Chaitanya's personality is as fascinating as gold, and it is very, very attractive. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan has explained that the word Varanga means exquisitely beautiful. So this is further description about the beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'm going to share the screen again to make sure you're able to see. Okay. Now, we saw a lot about the beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let's continue reading the further verses. What else happened when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared? Okay, so we saw the Vijaya, and then we saw Chandana Ujjvala, that is the beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decorated with sandalwood. Okay, 215. Okay. Dekiya Chaitanya Bhuvane Dhanya Dhanya Utthaye Jaya Jaya Nada Koi Nachata Koi Gayata Kali Haila Hari Shevi Shada. Sorry, I'm just losing my meter here. I'm sorry about that. But let's read it's not moving. Hold on. All the living entities of the world are blessed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some dance, some chant, and some loudly exclaim, Jaya Jaya. Kali, however, feels very, very sad. Obviously, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance was pleasing to everyone in all the three worlds. But there was one person who was very, very sad, who was Kali Purusha. He was very sad because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to deliver everyone in the age of Kali. Chari Veda Shiramo Kota Chaitanya Pamara Muda Nahi Jane Sri Chaitanya Chandrani Tai Thakura Vrindavana Dhasagane. Sri Chaitanya is the crown on the head of the 4 Vedas. So which is the end of the 4 Vedas? Can someone say? What is the crown on top of the Vedas? What does it indicate? The 4 Vedas. The essence of the 4 Vedas is recorded in
Vedanta.
Vedanta, yeah. So the crown of the Vedas, the head on the Vedas or the end of the Vedas is the Vedanta. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is actually, Vedanta is nothing but the Upanishads. So these are like the head of the 4 Vedas. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the crown on top of the Upanishads, on top of the Vedanta. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the crown on the head of the 4 Vedas. But sinful and foolish people cannot understand this. And Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur sings and glorifies Sri Chaitanya Chandra and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Again in the purport, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he explains that he is worshipable by the 4-headed Brahma, Nikila Shruti Mauli Ratnamala Dyuti, Nirajatapata Pankajankata. So the tips of the toes of your lotus feet are constantly being worshipped by the glowing radiance emanating from the strings of the gems known as Upanishad, the crown jewels of all the Vedas. So even the Upanishads are constantly worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prakasha Haila Gaura Chandra Dasa Dike Uthila Ananda. As Sri Gaurachandra appeared, the 10 directions became filled with bliss. The word Dashadike, Dikke means 10 directions. So which are the 10 directions? North, south, east, west, and what else?
Northeast, southwest, southeast, northwest.
And then we got 8 now.
Upwards and downwards.
Upwards and downwards. Yes, the nadir and the topmost point. So like this, we have 10 directions. So people in the 10 directions, they became filled with bliss. And each of these 10 directions have different guarding personalities in each of these directions. And each of those personalities who are guarding the 10 directions also became filled with bliss. So all the demigods, all the directions, Dashadik, everyone was filled with great happiness. Rupa Koti Madana Jininaya Haseni Jakirtana Shoniya. The Lord's beauty defeats that of millions of cupids. He laughs upon hearing his holy names chanted. So the minute the Lord appeared, he kept chanting the holy names. Everyone chanted the holy names, and he induced everyone to chant the holy names. Ati Samadhura Mukha Anki Maharaja China Sabadeki. The Lord's face and eyes are most sweet, and his body is decorated with the signs of the king. So we already saw that. Sri Charani Dvaja Vraja Shobhe Saba Ange Jagamana Lobhe. Dvaja meaning, what is Dvaja? Anyone?
Flag.
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 Flag. Dvaja is flag. Vajra. Vajra is?
Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt. Who carries thunderbolt?
Indra.
Indra, Indra Vajra, we say, right? So the Supreme Lord, not only does he have the marks of Shankha and Chakra, he also has marks of Dvaja and Vajra in his feet. So it says his lotus feet were marked with flag and thunderbolt, and his limbs attract the minds of all people. Dore gela sakala pada vyakta haila sakala sampada. By his advent, all danger is vanquished and prosperity is manifested. Sakala Sampat, everything, all prosperity is attained. Sri Chaitanya, Sri Nityananda, Sri Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Jana, Vrindavana Dasa Guna Gana. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I Vrindavan Dasa sing the glories at their lotus feet. Chaitanya avatara shuniya deva gana utila parama mangalare sakala tapa harash sakala tapa hara Shri Mukuta Chandra deki anande hoila vihvalare. Hearing that Lord Sri Chaitanya had incarnated, all the demigods became overjoyed. They are overwhelmed with ecstasy on seeing the Lord's face, which destroys all misery. Ananta Brahma Shiva Adhikari Yata Deva Sabei Nararupadri Re Gayena Hari Hari Grahana Chala Kari Lakite Kehanahi Pari Re. Ananta, Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods accept the form of human beings and chant Hari Hari on the pretext of this eclipse. No one can even ever recognize them. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, everyone was chanting Hari Hari. The demigods were beating kettle drums, but the demigods even took human-like forms and they came. Even when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when everyone came to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after his appearance, when Sita Thakurani and Malini Devi and so many others came to see the Lord, even at that time, demigods were disguised like human beings and they came to Nadia to actually witness the beauty of this Lord. Dashadhikhe dhaya loka nadiya ya baliya ucha hari hari re manushe deva mili ekatra hana keli anandaye navadvipa puri re. The people of Nadia ran in 10 directions, in all the different directions. Dashadik, they ran everywhere while loudly chanting Hari 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 Hari. The demigods and human beings mixed together and the whole world of Navadvip was filled with ecstasy. Sachira angani sakala deva gane pranama hoya padila re grahana andakare lakite ke hai nare durjanya chaitanya rakela. All the demigods come to the courtyard of Shachi Devi and offer their obeisances. Due to the darkness of the eclipse, no one can recognize them. Such are the mysterious pastimes of Sri Chaitanya. Keha pade stuti ka haro hata chati keha chamara dulayare parama harishe kecha pushpa varishe keha nache gaya vayare. Some demigods offer prayers, someone holds an umbrella and another waves a chamara. Some happily shower flowers, others dance, and some play musical instruments. Sabha Bhakta Sange Kari Aliya Gaura Hari Pashandi ki chui na jane re. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Vrindavana Dasa Rasagana re. Lord Gaurahari descended along with his devotees, but the atheists did not understand a thing. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I Vrindavan Das sing the glories of their lotus feet. Who is a Pashandi? Anyone? The definition of a Pashandi?
A fraud, a fake person.
Correct. A fraud, a fake person. Any more descriptions of Pashani? That is correct. That's the definition. Any more descriptions?
But shows himself to be religious. Someone who's not a bhakt but shows himself to be a bhakt. Like he does drama of bhakti, but he's not.
Exactly. He does drama of bhakti. He's actually not a bhakta. And also anything else that is correct? Something more severe, which Prabhupada writes in his purport.
Doesn't chant the holy name.
Okay, chants the holy name.
Non-believer of God.
Huh?
Offenders.
Offenders of God. How are they offending God?
They are thinking themselves as a God.
Okay, they are thinking themselves as God, and also
making fun of those who are chanting Lord's name.
Yes, they are making fun of those who are chanting Lord's name. Yes, actually, there's another factor to this. All that you all said is correct. Everything is correct. There's another factor to it. Let's read the meaning of Pashandi. This Prabhupada also writes in many other purports in Bhagavatam. The word Pashandi refers to persons who blaspheme and ridicule devotees. You all covered that. As well as those who consider the demigods who are actually the servants of the Supreme Lord as equal to Vishnu's considered a Pashandi. So if we consider anyone else, ourselves or demigods or anyone else, equal to Vishnu, okay, equal to the Supreme Lord, and we consider them as controllers, or we consider ourselves as controllers, or we blaspheme devotees, we make fun of devotees, we don't chant the holy names properly, we do mock devotion, like another Mataji said. So like that, a Pashandi is such a person. Especially Prabhupada in many purports, he writes, if they consider demigods equal to Vishnu, someone else as the supreme controller, they are considered as a Pashandi. In this way, Vrindavan Das Thakur. So a Pashandi was not happy, obviously, but all the devotees were very, very happy. Deities did not understand. They did not understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had appeared. So they could not recognize this fact. They could not accept this fact. But all the devotees actually accepted that this was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Gauranga. So when Gauranga descended along with his devotees, deities did not understand a thing. However, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, accepting Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Dasa, sing the glories at their lotus feet. Dundubhi dindhima mangala jayi dhvani gaya madhura rasala re vedhira agochara aji bhetava vilambe nahi arakala re. So again, Dundubi dindima. So these are drums. The demigods play kettle drums and dindima drums and chant the auspicious sound of Jaya Jaya, Jayadhvani, and sing sweet melodies, Mangala Jayadhvani. And the demigods think, today we have seen the Lord who is unknown through the Vedas, Vedera Agochara. He's unknown through the Vedas. So the Lord is very hidden in the Vedas, right? And especially we saw how this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like the crown on the head of the Vedas. So the head of the Vedas, the Vedanta or the Upanishads, they are giving us a glimpse of the Supreme Lord. They're not describing it in full. They're giving us a little glimpse. But who's the crown on that? It is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this crown is very hidden. People don't know. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described as Channavatara by Prahlad Maharaj. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you read, Prahlad Maharaj says he's Channa, meaning he's covered. People don't see him. In the age of Kali, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes in a covered incarnation. He doesn't openly go and exclaim, I am God. You know, Krishna obviously showed he is God. In all the pastimes he did, everyone could openly make out, oh, this is the Supreme Lord. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his pastimes, he was always covered. So this Lord is covered in the Vedas. The Vedas, sometimes they're also, considered very guhya, very secretive. They don't reveal great details very openly. The Puranas are more descriptive, but the Vedas, they are very, very secret. So today we have seen the Lord who's unknown through the Vedas. Very hard to understand Krishna through the Vedas. Therefore, let us not waste time. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya vedantakrit vedavideva chaham. People who are reading the Vedas, they are getting entangled in Traigunya Vishaya. Traigunya Vishayo Veda, Nishtraigunya Bhava Arjuna, Krishna says, right? So he's telling when they read the Vedas, they get entangled. They are not understanding the purpose of the Vedas is me, but through the Vedas, I am to be known. So Krishna is Guhya. Even more Guhya than Krishna is actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even Krishna, when he came, he revealed his greatness. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he covered himself. He was a Channavatar and he exhibited his qualities as a devotee because he had internal reasons for his appearance. What was the chief internal reason for Lord Chaitanya's appearance?
Can you taste Srimati Radharani's love?
Yeah, to taste Srimati Radharani's love. Yeah, that's right. So like this, because he had his internal reasons as well, he was not very open, and also that was the purpose of his descent. Anyway, so Vrindavan Das Thakur is telling, let us go immediately. There is no need to waste time in this matter. Anande Indrapura Mangala Kolahala Saja Saja Bali Sajare Bhatuta Punya Bhagye Chaitanya Prakasha Paola Navadvipa Majhere. In this way, the residents of Amaravati. Where is Amaravati? Amaravati is the residence of whom? Indrapuri. Yes, Indrapuri is Amaravati, Swargaloka. In this way, the residents of Amaravati are in ecstasy, and an auspicious commotion, kolahala, commotion arises as they decorate themselves to go and see the Lord. Due to our great fortune, we will see Sri Chaitanya and Navadvip. Thinking like that, all the residents of the heavenly planet, they decided to come on earth. Anyo anye alingana chumbana ghana ghana laja ke hana hi mamana re nadiya purandara janama ullase apana parana hi jana re. Being overjoyed on the birth of the Lord of Nadia, the demigods repeatedly embrace. What do? Chumbana, kiss. Okay, chumbana. They embrace. They go and alingana. They go and embrace themselves. They kiss each other without any reservation or consideration whether one is a friend or a stranger. So very, very nice. So that's how even the demigods, they are actually being very anyonya. Anyonya means being without any reservations. Like friends, when they are very close to each other, we call them as anyonya. There's no anyata when they are interacting with each other. So anyonya means between each other, being very friendly. Aichanaka kautuke Aila Navadvipe Chaudika Shoni Hari Namare Paya Gaura Rasa Vihvala Paravasa Chaitanya Jaya Jaya Ganare. In this joyous condition, they come to Navadvip and hear the sound vibration of Lord Hari's name from all sides. There, they taste Gaura's ecstatic emotions and become overwhelmed as they sing his glories. Dekila sachi grihe Gauranga sundare ekatra yaiche koti chandare manusha rupya dari grahana chala kari bolaya ucha hari namare. They are in Shachi's house. They see the beautiful form of Gauranga, who resembles millions of moons combined together in the guise of human beings, Manushya Rupadhari. And on the pretext of the eclipse, Grahana Chalakari, they all loudly chant the name of Hari, Ucha Hari Nam. Bolaye Ucha Hari Nam. So they're all chanting. All the demigods came, they came in guise, and they were chanting. Sakala Shakti Sange Aila Gaura Chandra Pashandi Kichui Na Janare Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Chanda Prabhu Gana Vrindavana Dasarasa Gana Re. Sri Gaurachandra appears along with his energies, but the atheists could not understand a thing. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. So every chapter, Vrindavan Das Thakur also, he ends very similar to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. as he describes Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you must have seen in Chaitanya Charitamrita, at the end of every chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, holding the lotus feet of Sri Raghunath and Rupa and Raghunath in my heart, I chant Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. So a similar way, we see even Vrindavan Das Thakur, who wrote the Caitanya Bhagavata earlier, he also finishes off in the same way. Sri Gaurachandra appears along with his energies, but atheists could not understand a thing. And he says, accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. So he always finishes after paying his obeisances to Chaitanya and Nityananda. So thus ends the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhashya of Sri Caitanya Bhagavat, chapter 2, entitled The Lord's Appearance. So we finished this chapter. It was a lot of verses were very connected to each other. So I had to read many verses so that we know what happened when the demigods came. But next week will be calculation of the Lord's horoscope. A little bit of horoscope calculation we will all do together next week. Okay. We'll end here. Any questions?
Mataji, Hare Krishna, you sung the verses so beautifully. I was singing with you. It was so nice to hear the verses of Chaitanya Chaitanya. Thank you so much.
Mataji, I was messing up so much, but thank you for your
I
sweet.
learned from you. I was singing along. It was so pretty. Thank you. You were singing it. You were not talking it. You were singing it. It was so nice to hear your voice.
Mataji, your heart is filled with devotion. Bless me, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, I agree also. It was so beautiful, Mataji. I just thought, how you covered the beauty of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his advent, like why he was here, and how the Rahu covered those spots, the moon, spotted moon, so that the golden moon can appear. It was just so beautiful. I actually did not know that part, and it makes sense why he was born in the lunar eclipse then. And also the features of the great personality, the 32 qualities, 32 features, greatly described. It was so beautiful. I also had heard that actually before with Lord Ramachandra's appearance and how he had the similar features too. So, I was connecting those. And then just, the beauty of Lord Chaitanya that you've described, it was just so amazing. I felt that you were actually seeing the beauty yourself when you were describing this. So it was very connecting and so beautiful. Thank you so much, Mataji. And if anyone has any other questions, please go ahead.
Thank you, Megha Mataji, for your beautiful heart and relishing it, hearing it so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Hi, Krishna Mataji. Actually, I want to follow up on this Rahu subject because, I always thought of Rahu as being like of demonic nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea that he would want to cover the spots of the moon so that Lord Gaurachandra could shine more brightly, it sounds devotional. So I was trying to reconcile this.
Yeah, so it's the heart of the devotee Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami who writes it very poetically, saying that because of his love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's saying everyone as a devotee trying to help in the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Oh, a sign
so
of
it's a very poetic connection.
Uttama Adhikari nature.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Lakshmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, and wonderful session. And I couldn't join Zoom a few days, but I'm hearing through YouTube sessions, and I was hearing Kirtidas Mataji's session, and the Gaura Hari explanation that she gave on that day very much helped in today's session. So as soon as you started explaining his appearance, just related how it would, and you also brought it into picture, and amazing. So we know how each class helps us to understand the further classes, and it's the base for it. It's very, very nicely done. Thanks, Kirti Mataji, and for you also. And when compared to other lecturers, they are equally good, but I am not that level to understand their wordings. But you and Kitida Mataji explain so well that even the fallen soul like me, with Manda mind, I'm able to capture everything. I'm able to grasp things. Thank you so much for your layman language, so that even I could understand. Hare Krishna. And I have a doubt, Mataji. That's why I actually unmuted. That day, Kitida Mataji said that regarding the frequency of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, but I couldn't get that. In how many kalpas he will make it, or could you please elaborate on that? Because I couldn't catch up on it, and as I watched in YouTube, I couldn't get back.
Kitida Mataji, you have unmuted. Would you like to answer?
No, Mataji, you please go ahead. You know the answer.
Oh, come on. You also please add. So both of us will say it together. So he appears only once in a day of Brahma. A day of Brahma is called as a kalpa. So just like how Krishna appears only once in a day of Brahma, right after Krishna's appearance, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. In that Kali Yuga, after Krishna's appearance. Only once. Yeah. Yeah, is that correct, Kirtida Mataji? You want to add?
No, that's perfect. That's what I said. He appeared in one kalpa, and then I explained what is the kalpa. One kalpa is actually, it consists of day and night of Brahma. So the day itself means 10,000 Divya Yugas. So 10,000 Divya Yugas makes one day of Brahma, and in that one day, Mahaprabhu comes once, just after Krishna departs.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Lakshmi Mataji. So nice to have you after a long time. Somehow I felt I didn't see you for long. Thank you. Yeah. And
Hare Krishna Mataji. Oh, sorry. You were saying something. Please go ahead.
No. As she explained, she was not on Zoom. Yeah. But yeah. I'm glad to know that she's back. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm also hearing on Upadeshamrita also sessions, but I am taking it on YouTube because I'm having other Gita sessions during that time. So I am hearing it on YouTube and I am keeping it up to date. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful, Mataji. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, Mataji, thank you so much. So beautiful, as Mataji was saying, that you can speak, you Kirtida and Kirtida Mataji can speak for who is very learned and who doesn't know anything. That's the quality of yours, Mataji. Everybody, it is not just for the layman, but for, I'm layman, but I'm sure those who are very learned, they would have thoroughly enjoyed like Kirtida Sundari Mataji. So wonderful. And the sweetness that you bring, Mataji, is out of the world. So we can literally relish your sweetness. I mean, relish the literature through your sweetness, Mataji. So thank you for making us taste the nectar. And last time I wasn't there. This time I'm here just for you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Anuradha Mataji. And yeah, thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, Preethi Vilasini Mataji, for your very, very beautiful class. Muted so many times, but there were so many devotees. So I said, okay. Very, very nice class, Mataji. Very beautifully explained. And the way you were asking in between, you are keeping us on track. Okay, we don't lose the track. We are here, right here, listening to your classes. Very nice.
I was just thinking the verses are all very similar and repetitive, right? I thought everyone will get bored. So, yeah.
Chaitanya Bhagavata and Chaitanya Charitamrita, I doubt anybody can get bored. It's so sweet. So
yeah, that's true.
Khanda, it's good. It's pure sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kirtida Mataji, for all the inspiration.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Can we give you a virtual hug? Why doesn't Chaitanya Mahaprabhu make more people like you?
Hare Krishna Mataji. You are also beautiful. The class was also beautiful, and Mahaprabhu is also beautiful. And today was a beautiful, beautiful class, Mataji. So thank you so much, Hare Krishna Mataji, to you and your services. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Mataji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Anyone else have any other questions or realizations? Please go ahead and share.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji.
No, beta, go ahead, beta.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam. Very, very beautiful class, Mataji. I do have a question. So you were talking about the three things that are very grave in Mahaprabhu. Can you please repeat that part, Mataji? The last one, I think one was his voice.
Voice, his navel, and existence. Yeah.
What is it?
Existence.
What can you explain what that meant? I didn't follow.
His presence, his pastimes, his existence, everything was very grave, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very much present there. He's very, he had very grave pastimes. That's how I understood existence.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Others can add too.
Because it was like surprising to see how Neelamba Chakravarti could identify that.
Mm.
Mataji, grave, you said his existence and other things were grave, meaning what?
His very presence was very grave. His past,
like meaning serious or what?
Yeah, heavy or very, like deeply rooted. That's how I see grave. I mean, of course, grave also means serious, but here, I would say in this context, it's more like being intensely present. So, would that make sense, Mataji?
Intensely present.
Kind of.
Kind of sober.
Not very sure.
I don't know if that's the right word.
Sober.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Sober, yeah.
Because, I think this word grave in different contexts, it seems to mean different things.
Yes.
Like sometimes grave means, you're not revealing your inner thoughts, So, but in this context, I don't think maybe it means that. I don't know. Well, maybe it does. I don't know.
There are different meanings to it. Like his existence is grave means that, like as Mataji said, that everything was so deeply rooted. Everything was in a different way. Like Krishna, normally all the nakshatras, all the constellation has to be well placed when Krishna has to appear. But see here, he is taking the lunar eclipse to come, which is so auspicious. This itself is so grave. Then his pastimes are grave. And then, especially in the pastimes of sannyas, taking sannyas and
very
going to
deep. Yeah.
Very, very deep, very, very deep. A common man cannot understand. That's why Mahaprabhu's existence in normal colloquial world, it is to be said as that he was a saint. Nobody understood that he is a personality of God. It's so deep, so deep.
Deep, yeah.
Okay, so deep, even this term deeply rooted means like maybe confidential, not well understood, or by common people, or this is what deeply rooted means.
Yes, just like when that's what I understood, and that's how I see it. Because the other aspects of grave is deep voice, like deep, and then you have the navel that is grave, like it goes deeply rooted inside. So that's how I've understood it. Yeah, that's what grave should mean.
Mm-hmm.
The navel existence. Yeah.
And you brought up his voice also. His he roars like a lion. When we say that, we mean that it's both loud and
scary.
And his voice is scary. But would that have been attractive?
Yeah, that's what the other day Kirtida Mataji was explaining. Just like how a lion is very scary to the deer, to the other animals, but the lion is very loving to the child. So it depends on how we perceive that garjana, that roar. So it's a loving roar of the holy names, and he makes an impact. So that's a garjana. He's making an impact on the people. And of course, it is to be seen in a positive way, like the cub of the lion sees the mother's roar as being protective, like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just one last thing about his bodily features. Not all of them, are immediately relatable as beautiful, to mundane vision. Like for example, I don't know. And I think that whenever I hear about his arms extending down to his knees, I mean, I just think of arms that are like disproportionately long. I mean, arms should neither be too long or too short.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I've been thinking about this. So arms reaching to the knees with very broad chest and shoulders looks very proportionate. So if arms are reaching to the knees with a very small structure, it'll look very awkward. It'll look like an alien, right?
Yeah.
But then just imagine, that's why Nyagrodha Parimandala is so heavily commented on. It's just not long arms, it's also the broad chest and the proportion.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Garangi Mataji. Anita?
Thank you, Mataji.
Even
I
for
also...
Lord Rama, they say the same thing, right? Very long arms, extending to the knees. Thank you so much, Mataji, for explaining that. Hare Krishna.
Anita Mataji, please go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji, for such a wonderful class. I was there in the beginning, but then I left for about 20 minutes. So I was about to join in the other class, so that's why I left. Sorry for that. And I again made to join here because the class was so wonderful in the beginning with so much interactive sessions. So I just have a question, like you were saying, the arms which is extending towards the knees. So it says that the person is spiritually he will be interested in spiritual ways, right? So is it that for the mundane people or only for the Lord, Mataji?
For the Lord, everything is there. All these features are present. For a jiva who is very spiritually advanced, like the Goswami, you read their description, bodily description, or big acharyas, they will have very long arms. They will have very long arms. Okay. So it is also, see, these things like, like just like how we talk about the Aishwarya of the Lord, we say Bhagavan is full in all 6 opulences, but some opulences are seen even in common people, right? So like that, the bodily features, some special bodily features will be seen in common people. And great astrologers can pinpoint that and say that, oh, this personality will do this. But it may not be in the full 100% as it is seen in the Lord. Like that. Not all the features will be seen in one person like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you mean that even in this material world also we can see few people like that?
Yes, you can. I have seen people with very long arms stretching the knees. I've seen people. Okay. But they may not have all the features of the, only the Supreme Personality will have everything. Yeah.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji, for such a wonderful class. As everyone says, you and Kirtida Mataji are really relishing the Chaitanya Bhagavata, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and giving to us the nectar. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely.
Haribo Preethi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Haribo Preethi Vilasini. I was just wondering, there's so many names for Lord Gauranga. Like there's Gora, there's Gauranga, there's Gaurhari, Gaur Chandra. So who makes all these names? Is it that the devotees, when they, like Vrindavan Das Thakur, is it he is giving these names to Lord Gauranga out of his love for the Lord? And so they can make many names?
Yes. So like the Supreme Lord, he has, as explained, 2 days before by again Kirtida Mataji, he gets names Gaunyanam and Pradhananam, or the primary names and the secondary names. The devotees give him based on his features. Like Gaura means, as you know, golden, and Hari is lion. Gaura means golden, and Anga means body. Gaura means golden, and Chandra means moon. So looking at his beauty and how he is, the devotees come up with these names, to describe his beauty, to describe him out of love. So in Bhagavatam also we see so many names for Krishna. The devotees address him by different names. Some are, like for example, in Bhishma Stuti, we see Bhishma always calls him Vijayasaka, Parthasaka, Parthasarathi. He uses only these kind of names because his mood is, seeing Krishna in the battlefield as the chariot driver of Arjuna. So he always sees him like that. So depending on the mood of the devotee likes to address the Lord in a particular way. So many of these devotees, they enjoy seeing the transcendental beauty of the Lord, and they call him Gaura Sundar, Gaura Hari, Gauranga, like that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. No one has any other questions or comments. I'd also like to read the chat messages. So AR Favor, PPR, I don't know who the devotee is. But they're saying, Hare Krishna Mataji, beautiful session. I'm blessed to be able to listen and learn. Shivani Mataji is saying, Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam, very, very beautiful class. Thanks for explaining in so depth the appearance of the Lord. Thanks so much, Mataji. Sita Preethi Devi Mataji is saying, Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam Mataji, just amazing, sweet class. Yashamati Mataji saying, Hare Krishna Mataji, you explained everything very beautifully. And also you sang all verses very beautifully. Thank you, and seeking your association often. So sweet. And Chaya Mataji saying, thank you, Mataji, for such a wonderful class. Hare Krishna. Nandapriya Narmada Devi Mataji saying, Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much, Mataji, for such a beautiful class. These are all the comments in the chat, Mataji. Devotees, anyone else have any other realizations, questions? If so, please go ahead.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the importance of the Caitanya Bhagavata and the the importance of all the books written about Lord Chaitanya. So he decided to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita. Is it because we can't understand, we can't speculate on what the pure devotee is doing. But is it that the Chaitanya Charitamrita was the most extensive description?
Yes.
Is that why he decided? Is that why we have the Chaitanya Charitamrita? I'm sure it's in a purport somewhere, but I do remember reading that he glorifies the Chaitanya Bhagavata and the Chaitanya Mangala and saying how important they are.
Yeah. So Chaitanya Charitamrita specifically, I don't know if this was in a conversation or I think conversation, he did ask devotees whether he should translate Chaitanya Bhagavata or Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then he himself said he would do Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the reasons, like you said, yes, you cannot understand a pure devotee, that is true. And also the reason which I understand is that the difference that I understand is that Chaitanya Charitamrita focuses on the later pastimes of the Supreme Lord after he takes sannyas and he begins the spreading of the Yuga Dharma, the congregational chanting, and his later pastimes are how he delivers different people by inaugurating this Yuga Dharma. So that is what is concentrated in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Adi Leela especially has very heavy, intense philosophy, because unless that philosophy is very clearly established, it is very hard for us to get into the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So our entire philosophy, our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy is completely embedded in the Adi Leela of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. If we understand Srimad Bhagavatam, or if we have read Srimad Bhagavatam, it will be easy for us to read the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is very philosophical. So in my opinion, it is Srila Prabhupada. I don't know, I can get this conversation that he had before he wrote, he chose between the two, between Bhagavata and Chaitanya Charitamrita, but he felt it was important for Chaitanya Charitamrita to be established because of the philosophy content and also the later pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Bhagavata is very sweet. Written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and it has some very sweet pastimes, especially concentrating on the early pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. after reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, for us, after understanding all the philosophy and the tattva and seeing how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually established the Harinam Sankirtan, how he changed the hearts of devotees, after getting that entire thing, now it becomes easy for us to read Chaitanya Bhagavata and relish the sweetness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's how the whole thing is laid out. Was that helpful, Mataji? I can also look up where exactly this conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, also Prabhupada mentions the importance of the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, how important it is.
Yeah.
And so all Prabhupada's disciples and the disciples of the disciples, they're translating so many books and they're so valuable, and so important. And so we're so blessed.
So true. So true. Bhagavatamrita is an ocean of nectar. It's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for bringing that up.
Hare Krishna, Preethi, Vilasini, Mataji. Very nice class. You start very nicely, everything. Very nice.
Thank you for your blessings, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dasi. Chikamatiki Mataji, please forgive me. Go ahead, Mataji.
No.
I only say, I have not much, not so many words, because I cannot glorify enough like that. Everybody has so many nice glorifications. I can say that it's very nice, and he has all the sweetness and everything, very nicely spelled out. The pastimes and philosophy, everything is nicely.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Ji Preethi Vilasini Mataji, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai. Mataji, I learned one thing from you, that the true devotee, like you and Ji Kirtida Sundari Mataji, Ji Lalitangi Mataji, they Ji Sukheswari Mataji, they are staying backside, backbone of Bhakti Sangha, and they are staying backside, and they guide the new Vaishnava, like Ji Vinita Gandharvi Mataji, Ji Karunamayi Mataji, and you just वो आप पीछे रह के वो सबको आगे करते हो, that they are the true devotee. जो लीडर होते हैं वो नए नए छोटे छोटे वैष्णव को आगे करते हैं, like me. हम लोग तो क्वालिफाइड नहीं है प्रभु माता जी, बट स्टिल आप हमें आगे करते हो ताकि हम श्रील प्रभुपाद की सेवा में लग सके माता जी. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम टू योर सिंसियर सेवा. Learning so many things, Mataji. In my case, Mataji, it is very easy to understand Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shri Bhagavatam, after reading Shri Bhagavatam. But Mataji, Shri Bhagavad Gita, that is the basic one, Mataji. Sometimes when we are given an example or nectar of instruction, Mataji, because we're studying in Gujarati and Hindi medium, so that is going little hard. Pray for us, Mataji. Sau Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Shri Radha Gopinath, Das Dasanu Das Bhav. Hari Hari Gauranga Mataji. Thank you very much. So nice. टुडे माता जी, वो जो अंदर के भाव होते हैं आपके और कीर्तिदा सुंदरी माता जी ने, एक माता जी ने अभी बताया, वो माता जी टच टू हार्ट होते हैं, वो याद रह जाता है मन में. ऐसे तो कितने सारे महाराज और सीनियर ब्रह्मचारी के क्लास सुनते हैं, पर हमारा जो लेवल है वो लेवल पे आप आके हमें समझाते हो माता जी. हरि हरि गौरांगा दंडवत प्रणाम माता जी. हरे कृष्णा.
Thank you, Vrinda Gopika Mataji. Thank you for your very, very sweet words and always inspiring everybody on this call. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, so thank you so much, Mataji, for your enlightening class today, and we're very grateful to you. We look forward to your association again and again, Mataji. If no one has any other questions, we will end the call here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Chaitanya Bhagavad ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare
Thank you,
Thank you so much,
Mataji.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
We'll end the
Dandavat pranam.
call.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.